Welcome, everyone, to Self Care You podcast. I am Sharon D. Brown, the number one self caregiver in the world. And this podcast is the intersection of self care, advocacy, and compassion for self caregivers. Welcome. And so, um, this episode is an anniversary. On this very day, a year ago, I stepped out on faith. Yes, I did. I stepped out on faith to enter this world of entrepreneurship to say, oh, I'm opening up my own business. And believe me, it has been a journey. And so, since this is about self care, since this is about, I say, the business of the business, I want to give anyone who is new, and even if you've been in there for a while, if you're considering and owning your own business, if you are new to the entrepreneurship, I call it the entrepreneurship streets, things that people don't tell you. In that, listen to this because you would definitely see how self care is intertwined into your business. You will definitely see this. And so, in order for you to be successful in your business, I'm going to say this: it requires you to be successful within yourself, for yourself, and through yourself. And so, one of the things that I did and that I knew that I had to do because I didn't know anything about business is that I needed to have a business mindset. And this is very, very true. Most definitely. Now, I will say within that, there are some lots of things that I've learned along the way. And so I'm going to list 5 things, 5 tips that I want to give you that is going to help you. And you will see how self care is going to help you in your life, in your personal life, in your business, especially again for business owners and entrepreneurs. And I would say anyone in leadership roles. And so here's the first one. Drum roll is invest in yourself. This is the biggest thing that you can do is to invest in yourself. Now I'm going to say there are 2 ways that you need to invest in yourself. They're not in a particular order. So just like I had taken masterminds, I participated in coaching programs, that is a way for me to invest in myself, to pretty much associate myself with business minded people in different forums, in networking. That is definitely needed because even if you know something about it, it is still beneficial to be surrounded around people. And I always like to say diverse in the like minded people so that you can learn. And the other thing I want to say about that is it's not only just the business side of things, but the money side of that too. And so that's really important. And so the other part of investing in yourself is to invest in you. When I say invest in you, invest in if you have, I'm going to say this first. Every part of you is going to show up, is going to show up in people, places, and things. This already happens in life anyway, and we're not really aware of it. We want to focus on the person who's in front of us. And so, not to say that certain things are not true, because especially when individuals actually do say something and actually do things that are not in alignment with us, and it's not just because they're not in alignment, it's just not good. And so, but in business, it's 10 times more. It's 10 times more of people, places, and the things that's going to show up, that's going to show you what needs to be nurtured, what needs to be addressed. Because when it comes to business, it's so true. take the emotion out of any decision that you make so that you can be crystal clear of the decisions that you're having. So you can have discernment because you can have the heart for something, but you don't need the emotions that comes along with certain things. And so this is why it's so important for you to invest in yourself. And when I say invest in yourself, again, it's two: on the business side, to learn about money, to learn about business, to learn about how different things work with the inside of out. But the other side, I guess you could say the personal side of you that impacts you. It's like most people are familiar with the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences. I call it the childhood experiences that impact us adversely because everyone doesn't experience the big T trauma, but most individuals experience the smaller T trauma. And for more information about that, listen to previous, especially in the early days of the podcast. And so, in saying that, every part of us is going to show up eventually. And if anything, even on a subconscious level, it impacts how you see the world, how you feel the world, how you interpret the world, and how you move about, how you make decisions, even in business. So, even though you can believe that you are making sound judgments, but you may not be. One example is this was more so in the corporate world. I can remember working someplace, and there, what is it called? What is it? The social committee. The social committee, they usually have the get-togethers, trying to have different ways that employees can socialize. And one particular supervisor, and it was allowed. I'm not going to say that I get it, but it was allowed to happen because the person was the supervisor and all the other supervisors went along with it. In that, it was like, oh, why are we celebrating when someone retires? Someone has invested and given, 20, 25, 30 years with the company. And it's like, why are we doing that? It's like, wow. So meaning, and I say that could be a judgment on my part, but it was a certain way that that person looked at that. You see what I'm saying? So they're making a decision that impacted everyone. Because for some individuals, they want that recognition. And then a lot of times for the employees, they want to, pretty much want to show their appreciation of someone investing in the company. And so you see how a decision that someone makes can impact a whole, and that's for something deep. It's not just an opinion. And so, in saying that, for those individuals, even like myself, who grew up without fathers, what I've come to realize, these are things that need to be addressed because it can be how I view the world, how I view men, how I interact with men, my own behaviors. And so this is why it's so important for you to invest in yourself. And so there's lots of programming, when it comes to entrepreneurship. And one thing, if you're in a really good program, it will address, I would say, as a side benefit of addressing as like self-development type of things anyway. And especially depends on what type of entrepreneurship that you may be in, especially when it comes to anything that's similar or associated with network marketing. They are big on self-development. And even though people may like, oh, network marketing, but one thing I can say, these are very, very, very highly self-confident individuals, because one thing I will say, especially like in the financial services, a good one, it will have self-development, and that's what we need, and that's what investing in yourself is all about. Again, you need to definitely do it from the business side, but you need to do it from the personal side of as well, because as I've said before in previous episode, in that we cannot separate ourselves how much we want to, how much we're like, oh, well, I can make these decisions. It seeps through in one form or another, because sometimes it can also be where you can be so quote unquote business minded without the emotion that it come across really stern and cold. And then are you really, you know what I'm saying, are you really associating everything? So again, this is why it is so important for you to make that investment in yourself. That's twofold. The other thing is, this is associated with the first one is your mindset. You definitely would need to work on creating a entrepreneurship mindset. And this is one of the things that I can say was and I didn't think that it would be, but one of the biggest hurdle that I had, because by me working for different companies, there was always, I guess you could say, like a safety net and a comfort zone to a certain extent. So because there are things that you're the boss that you need to do yourself. Again, this is where the self development is going to come into play. When you invest in yourself, it's going to help in your mindset. It's not just to say, oh, well, I got a business mindset. No, you need to have a business, a human, a money mindset as well, because knowing how money works is really important too. So you cannot leave anything off of the table. Make sure you're placing so many different things on the table. And so, in saying that regarding the first and the second one, and again, these are not in any particular order, but all of these are needed in order to be successful, not just in your business, but to be successful in life. In that, when it's like it's beneficial to also participate in programs that specifically for self-development. This is really important. Sometimes they can be associated with business per se, but even if they're not, that is probably even better, because everything that we have not dealt with, it would either implode within us or explode outside of us. And when things get stressful or when decisions need to be made, this is when, let's just say, the little person inside of us shows up. And so the other tip I would like to give you is discipline. Yes, you hear that a lot. And so discipline can be just getting up at the same time every morning. Discipline can be that you're going to read something regarding self development, some affirmation, whatever it may be. Discipline is pretty much being able to practice and repeat, being able to do something that you don't want to do, but you know you need to do. And so when it comes to discipline, I guess you could say this have a couple of folds too. Being disciplined to do the things to keep you healthy, because everything depends on you. So you need to have a clear mind, um, so that you can have clarity. You need to be healthy so you can, pretty much be strong in your mind and your spirit, and so that you can make the decisions and so that you can move. And so the discipline within yourself is going to help you to do the things that you need to do within your business, meaning that if you need to make telephone calls, if you need to, that's part of contacting individuals, you need to contact, if you need to go places, if you need to sit and write things down, because that's the other thing when it comes to business. Again, there's so much. And I don't want to say it so much, but remember the rewards on the other side, or not unless you want. Who is that? Myron Golden said something to the effect: the rewards on the other side or the regrets of not trying or not doing. And so it's always beneficial to go after your goals, after your mission, so that you can live a fully lived life. And so, again, discipline is so important. And one thing that I'm going to say, discipline is going to come from you. Figure out what gets you going. A lot of times, motivation is not enough. So, this is where discipline comes into play. And in saying that, if you need to go and pay someone to work out with, because working out is really beneficial with your discipline. It really helps you. So whether you do it alone, some people are disciplined enough to do that, but also when it comes to that, in challenging yourself. So that's kind of in that piece too. And so again, a discipline can be every such and such day I'm going to whatever that may be, but especially again, personally and things associated with your business is be able to touch your business on a daily basis so that it can grow and expand. And then along with all of these things is whatever it is that you have set up is to execute, is to implement. It's not enough for you to invest in yourself to learn about, what business is, what you can do, to learn about coaching programs, to learn about um, courses, or to learn how to speak, whatever it is. There's it is pretty much a waste of your time and energy and money if you're going to invest in those things, but you're not going to implement. And one thing that I can say, I've always been a big learner, a lot of stuff in my head, but when it comes to the implementation, it's like, oh yeah, I use it when I need it. And I think that's what I was accustomed to, because a lot of times the way that my life was, I didn't need those things. The information was enough. But when it comes to the business side of the world, and once you're an entrepreneur, it's different. I don't want to say it's in reverse, but it's completely different, meaning that whatever it is that you're reading or that you're watching, you may not need to read every single thing. You may come across something like, oh yeah, I can use this. If it gives you insight, if it gives you the energy and motivation and inspiration to be able to do something, go ahead and do it so that your business can move. Because the more that you don't do something, the more that your business don't move. And the more that you don't do something, the more that you won't do something. So this is why it's so important to execute, to implement, to practice, to put it into action. Remember, that is number 4, movement and action, when it comes to the 4 pillars of self-care. So you see how all of this pretty much tie into self-care. Self-care is really everything, is every aspect of you, because the things that you're doing on an everyday basis, even when it comes to, even if you're a 9 to 5, that is a part of your self-care as well. And so, and the last one I want to give you, and again, there are more, because even some of these I can even break down even more and more and more. But I wanted to give you these things because I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. And some things I wish I would have known, but you don't know what you don't know. And pretty much it is the transformation that you're going through at the time during the transition, and you're learning along the way. And I'm going to add, or I added at the end as a side note. Let me write it down just in case I forget. and then the last one and it's a part of the execution part of it, is to pretty much make sure your activities, your daily activities, is focused on money making activities, because we can be busy, even though we can build a website, even though we can do social media, and those things are important, and to learn to do and to do, or to hire to do, you still need to have some level of understanding, even if you do hire someone. But regardless of everything, meaning that the contacting, the connections, the networking that you have with others, whatever it is that is your money making activities, your money making tasks, that is a priority. So it's like, yes, you need the discipline to do that. And then sometimes with the investment within yourself, because sometimes what is called imposter syndrome can come into play, that's preventing you from executing and preventing you for focusing on the money making activities. And so this is why that is so important. And so keep these things in mind. And I just want to say, just say, as a person, you really don't have to be a business minded person or in business or entrepreneur for these tips, but this is what we're focusing on right now. And so, again, the 5 tips in review is that invest in yourself from a business perspective, but also personal, because we need to clean up some stuff that we probably didn't even know that needed to be cleaning up, because believe me, it will impact you at some level. And so that means even if it's therapy, life coaching, but on a daily, I'm saying on a daily basis, sometimes that too, and it should be on a daily basis that you're invested in yourself. Sometimes it's not always in the class, but definitely take that time for yourself to invest in yourself, and having some type of self-development regimen, because the more that you do that, because again, there's certain parts of ourselves that we just don't know, and it shows up most of the time when it shows up, and you want to get a handle of those things so that it will not impact you personally and it won't impact your business. And then again, the second one is a mindset shift of how you think of money, how you look at money, how you handle money, how you look at business, how you look at people. So again, a mindset shift of success. Again, discipline is a big one. Again, these are not in a particular order per se, because they work together, they're intertwined. And again, discipline, you practice, you pretty much repeat, you just continue to do the things that you don't want to do, but that needs to be done. Do it anyway. And then execute, implement, take action of the things that you're learning about on the business side, on your personal side, so that your business can be success. And again, it's not just about the business of being successful, it's you being successful within yourself, for yourself, and through yourself as a person, with your characters, where you will uphold your non-negotiables, things that you will not tolerate on a personal side, and the expectations and the standards that you have. And the last one is to make sure that your task is focused on money making activities. And the last thing that I was going to say is too, that pretty much ties into this as well, is to follow your gut. Some people may say, oh, don't do that. But one thing that I have learned is that, because even when I think about where my business is today and some of the thoughts that I had, and it was only because I was new and I just didn't know. I asked some questions, but there's like so much information out there. And then even with asking, sometimes, especially when something is brand new, you just may not get it. That's just part of the learning process. And I do want to add to be patient with yourself, but it's okay. And that's the thing, is when it comes to you having your own business, being an entrepreneur, where you really truly learn how to trust yourself and know that things are going to work out, because it's all about testing and exploring and experiencing anyway, because you find out what works, you find out what doesn't, and whatever it doesn't, then you move on and just continue to do what needs to be done. And just know it takes patience, it takes practice, but it takes you to being a big investment in yourself. The more that you invest in yourself, and the more that you take the action, not to just invest in yourself, but to do the things that you learn about yourself, about business, and how you can, make things work, then you are going to be such a big servant for those that you are providing services for. And so, again, when it comes to all of this, remember, you are the winner when it comes to your business. So, thank you for joining me for this episode of Self Care You podcast.